Hello there and welcome back into the Direct Selling Accelerator podcast. My name is Sam Hind. I'm your host, and today I'm going to be bringing in another very special guest. I absolutely love the fact that this podcast is not just about the knowledge I bring to the table, but the knowledge that so many people all over the globe with extensive experience in all industries, in all parts of life, from all over the world, get to come in here and share with you their expertise on how to be successful, not just in business, but in life. I am so privileged that I get to be the person that helps deliver this information to you. And so I feel a little bit, guilty that I get to have the front row seat of having some of these amazing conversations, but it's also an amazing blessing for me to be able to do that. So today is absolutely no exception. I had the pleasure of speaking with an amazing individual on the other side of the world, over in Utah, in Salt Lake City. I had the opportunity to speak with the amazing Curtis Call, who is the Chief Sales Officer for Xyngular. Now, Curtis comes to us with an experience of over 18 years in the industry in all different areas. He has got a wealth of experience under his belt and some amazing knowledge, but he also, you can tell when you hear from him just how passionate he is about helping people grow their businesses and to grow them the right way. He has a real passion for people. I know that you're going to feel this when you hear him speak, but I was just blown away as well by the amount of amazing, down-to-earth, simple to implement information he shared. And you know what? There's nothing better than simplicity when it comes to growing yourself and gaining some knowledge. So I know you're going to love this interview. I don't want to give too much away. I know that this is going to be really powerful. So definitely have that pen and paper ready for this episode. But I'm going to hand over now and let you hear from the man himself. I'm welcoming on in Curtis Call, Chief Sales Officer of Xyngular. Hello, everybody, and welcome back into the Direct Selling Accelerator podcast. I am super excited to be joined today by Curtis Call. Welcome on in, Curtis.
Thank you, Sam. It's an honor to be on here with you.
I'm super excited to chat with you today. I know we've had some great conversations so far, and in those conversations, I was thinking this will be an awesome chat to have with our listeners because you've got so much value to add to the fields, but also so much experience in your career, which I'm excited to chat with you about in just a moment. But by introduction, Curtis, you're the Chief Sales Officer at Xyngular, and we're really excited to be doing some more work with you guys over the coming months. But do you want to tell everybody a little bit about who you are, Curtis, before we get going?
Absolutely. So maybe on a couple parts of my life, I have been involved with the direct selling industry now for about 22 years, initially as a distributor for 2 years, and since 2003, involved on what we refer to as the corporate side of the industry, leading sales organizations, field development, so forth. I've been with Xyngular now almost 8 years. Next month will be 8 years with the company, and I am passionate about helping independent distributors, business owners, solopreneurs, whatever we are calling them these days, to maximize their potential and help them to build successful businesses. On the personal side, my wife and I have been married for 26 years. We have 4 children. Our oldest and his wife just gave us our first grandson recently, which we're very excited about. But 2 sons, 2 daughters, very engaged in sports and in other things that keep us very busy. So life's good at work, life's good at home. And that's, I guess, a little bit about me.
I love that. So what's really awesome is we're going to be talking today about routine. And I think there's no better person to talk to about routine than someone who's been in a corporate career like you have, has got a sporting background, has got 4 children and now a grandchild. Congratulations.
Yes, thank you.
So I'm excited to have a chat with you about all of that. Can you tell our listeners just quickly, for those who don't know anything about Xyngular, a little bit about the company? What does Xyngular do?
So Xyngular has been in business. This December will be 13 years. We were founded in December of 2009. Started out primarily in the sort of liquid supplement market, and then acquired a company which put us in the weight loss market. And really, what has evolved is a company primarily focused on weight loss and transformation, and then also, like some great wellness products, supplements, and things like that. We are, as a company, like to take a different approach sometimes to how we do things. We have a tremendous compensation model, but we've built in what we call our passport program, which is a travel incentive model, unlike anything I've seen across my 20 plus years in the industry. Really robust, giving people a lot of opportunities in their time with Xyngular to earn a lot of travel and experiences for them, for their families. And so we do this for the distributors. We say we're a distributor centric company. We're a distributor success company. And that is on our minds all the time, is how can we help the distributor, and primarily that brand new distributor who's trying to get a business started. So very much focused on the people who build this. And our company is doing really well. We've received a number of different growth awards over the last 5 or 6 years, multiple best places to work awards from local publications here in Utah, from industry publications, from Inc. magazine. And I think it's all a testament to the culture here internally, which also becomes the culture that we have in our field as well. So it's an exciting place, it's a great company, and we're looking forward to what the future holds.
I love that you brought the culture into it, because this was actually one of the things I was really excited to chat with you about today, and definitely one of the standouts for me when I first met you and spoke to you about this awesome company and the field in particular. Culture is something that's very, very difficult to establish, but one of the things I noticed is that it is such a huge focus for you at head office level. And the care that you're taking to looking after the field and ensuring that no one's left behind and everyone's looked after, it really, really stands out. I know that this wasn't one of the things that we were going to chat about originally, and this is what I said. We could go off on any tangent here, so let's go. Can you tell us a little bit about how you go about establishing that culture? Because I get the sense that this is actually really, really important thing for Xyngular right from the top through the ranks.
Yeah, culture is a big deal for us, both the sort of the internal working culture of the company, but then also how that expands out into the culture with our distributors and in their businesses. And we're big believers that culture isn't a result of fun things that you offer, the ping pong table in the break room and the snacks and the this and that. Culture really is about people, and it's about how people come together, how they collaborate, how they work together. And so for us, establishing culture came down to establishing great core values, giving people a common language that they can speak from, and so that you say things and it carries meaning within the organization. And that's true in our distributor field as well. There are ways that we talk to them. There are things that we implement around how we interact with them. And it was interesting. Years ago, we had an organization that did some surveying and polling in our field to learn a little bit more about Xyngular. And they came back to us and they said, one of the words that kept popping up that we found so unique, for this type of a company, was the word love. People talked about their love for the company, their love for, the corporate team, and their love for their teams, and their love for their downlines, sidelines, cross lines, whatever. And it really just comes down to how are people being treated? How do they feel valued within that community? And that starts to breed the culture that you want. People want to stay where they feel important, where they feel valued, but they also feel cared for. And so, there's a lot of things you can add that are perks. But they don't always add up to culture. You really have to focus in on the people and their interactions to establish what you really want culture to be.
Yeah, that's so powerful. Do you know, the thing that stands out to me about that, Curtis, is the differentiation between the giving of things versus the valuing of people. And I think that's where we sometimes get a little bit caught up. One of the trainings that we really focus heavily on is how people are providing value to their audience on social media. And I see time and time again people getting that confused with, what am I giving away? What am I doing for them? Rather than just simply showing them that you care. And I think that's just so powerful. So I love that you guys are doing that. But I do want to ask another question around that too. From a distributor level, I got asked this question yesterday, actually. We had someone in the field who was really struggling with team culture. So that culture of the team around them, and how, when you see that culture going off in a direction you don't want to, for example, a lot of negativity starts festering, particularly in Facebook groups, how do they re-steer that? Do you have any advice given, I suppose what you've been so focused on from a head office level for someone who might be in a leadership level to re-steer the culture?
Yeah, there's a couple of things that I think about in that instance, and to say that any of our distributor groups have been immune from that, wouldn't be true. But what I've seen some of our top leaders do when that starts to happen is go back to the basics of what we're building here, and understanding that we're here to help other people to reach goals that they've set for themselves. They came here to build something that would be of value for them, their families, or maybe even life-changing. And we have to ask ourselves the question, what's in it for them? Why are they here? What do they want from this? And a lot of that negativity sometimes breeds from, egos getting in the way, and maybe questions being, well, what can I take from this, or what's in it for me? Yeah. And if you can throw away the what's in it for me question and really load yourself up on what's in it for them, it becomes a lot easier for you to restore a culture where people feel, hey, if I stay here, they're going to help me get what I want from this. And I've watched, top leaders in Xyngular do that. There's really, it's hard sometimes to kind of turn your mind back around to, how am I being of service to this person? How am I helping them get to their goal or what they're coming to work for? And not doing things that take away from that or detract from that. But it takes work. You have to be intentional. You have to put in the work and the effort. You don't build culture just by saying you want a great culture. You build a culture by living up to those things that you promise to the community, right?
Yeah, leading by example. I love it. Now,
exactly.
Let's have a little bit of a chat about an analogy that you gave me that I want to share with the listeners now. I was really keen to chat with you about routine, and you used a word that I really love, which was rhythm in business. And, I feel like it's such a beautiful way to describe it, because we hear routine all the time and we think routine work, process. But when I heard the word rhythm, I just thought, what a beautiful way to think about, how we go about our daily activities. And I want to really dive into this concept of building rhythm in your business. But you gave an analogy. You told me about how you grew up on a ranch and how that lesson of growing up on that ranch taught you a little bit about the importance of routine and rhythm. Do you want to just share that with our listeners? I'm going to let you do it in your words, because you said it so much better than I'm going to.
Awesome. Yeah. So I grew up on a cattle and sheep ranch. I live here in Utah. I was, a little more than an hour north of where I currently sit. It was my granddad's ranch. And, as young kids, we started working from an early age, and we started, being taught the value of our daily responsibilities, that every single day we had to show up and do our chores, whether that was feeding the animals or watering the crops or any other, number of things. But you learn to show up, and you learn to do that day's chores or that day's tasks. And you come back around again tomorrow and you do it again, and you come back around tomorrow and do it again. And routine sometimes, carries this connotation of, only having a pattern. But rhythms is, you kind of get into a feel for it, and you kind of get in this movement with the thing that you're doing, and it becomes a little bit more, I think, a part of you. I learned at a young age that if you don't feed the animals, there are potential, catastrophic consequences. An unfed animal can become unhealthy and, even, potentially die. And the same goes for, crops. If you want to have a really good crop of, hay or wheat or corn or something, you've got to really take care of those crops. And there's a daily nurturing component that comes from that. And so, it was stressed early on. You show up, you do your part, you do your piece of this, right? I just look back at those lessons and how they've translated now into the business world. I don't get to just come to the office every once in a while. I kind of got to come and and do my thing. And I think routine is great. You establish your routine, but your routine allows you to get into a rhythm with the business, and it allows you to kind of feel and move the business a little differently. I think about this from the distributor standpoint. You can't only build your business on Thursday afternoon and expect to have great results. You kind of got to do something every single day that moves your business forward, and allow yourself to get into that consistency about daily activities that are productive and will help you to grow your business. And I don't know if the farming and the ranching analogy marries up perfectly with business, but for me, having experienced both, there's so many similarities. I think one of the things that we've taught most frequently here is about the need for daily activities and consistency in doing those. And I think it's where rhythm comes from, is allowing yourself to do those things every single day that are going to grow your business.
Yeah, that's so good. The feel of it and getting into the groove versus just the process. That's such a great analogy. And I know you also tied in sport to this too. So if people don't like the analogy about the ranch and the animals, which I think is awesome, you also spoke about, game day. It was kind of like a bit of an aha moment for me as you were talking about it. And that game day is not, the most important part. It's the daily rhythm of practicing. And that's, do you want to just quickly elaborate on that as well?
Yeah, and so I'm a big sports fan, by the way. I've played a lot of sports. I've coached my kids in sports. I watch a lot of sports, and so I tend to draw out a lot of analogies out of.
I've got to say, I was a little blown away. You actually know what Australian rules football is, which when
I
chatting
do.
with anyone in the US, they have no idea what I'm talking about.
Yes, yeah, that was a key part of my childhood, as we talked about. But I look at the best athletes out there, right? And what a lot of people miss about these best athletes is, sure, they've got great genetics, they have great physical traits and physical skills, but there are people with the same physical traits and skills who never rise to the same level of success as some of the truly great ones do. And the great ones are the ones they're willing to get in, the gym or on the field or whatever type of, surface they're playing on, every day that's not game day. And they put in the work, and they do the practice, and they work on the fundamentals over and over and over again. So it doesn't matter, if we're talking about Jerry Rice, legendary wide receiver for the San Francisco 49ers, if we're talking about, the Michael Jordans, LeBron James, Kobe Bryants of the world in the basketball world, the Lionel Messis, the Cristiano Ronaldos of the soccer world. These guys put in a ton of effort and a ton of work. And they show up every single day to their workouts. They show up every single day to their practices. And the game day, yeah, it's important because, that's kind of where the wins and losses happen in the standings, and the greatness is on display. But the game day is an opportunity to put all of that stuff you've been practicing to the test against competition and see where you are. And then they measure themselves and they say, oh, I'm going to go back, and then this week I'm going to work on something different. I'm going to keep my routine going. And they make all the difference by the work and the consistency they put into the practice. Taking it out of sports, a musician is the same. We see them perform a number at a concert or in, some kind of a television special or something. We think, wow, that person is so talented. And what we miss is that they have been somewhere in some studio, in their garage, living room, somewhere, practicing their craft over and over and over again. And you go back to the analogy of, hey, the farm teaches you got to do something every single day. But you also got to do the things that make you better every single day. And it's in the consistency of putting in that effort that you become better at it. There's what's called the 10,000 hour principle, right? And they say that, you do something for 10,000 hours and you sort of, create an expertise, or you become an expert at that thing. Well, you don't get 10,000 hours in only on game day or only on Fridays. It comes from amassing time, and you can accelerate that by how much time you put in every single day. So on a business side, it's practicing your business craft. If you're in sales, it's like working on your sales pitches, working on the things that you're going to say, but actually getting out in front of people and doing the thing over and over and over again until you become better at it. And I can't say enough about the importance of putting in the work to get the result that you want out of anything that you're engaging in any part of your life, really.
Yeah, so powerful. And I guess the thing that I'm thinking about our listeners right now and what some of them are thinking. And I know that we wanted to really speak into this because one of the reasons that people don't establish good quality routines or rhythms, again, that's my new word. I love that, rhythms. The reason that people don't establish good rhythms in their business every day is because, this is just my side hustle. This is not my my full-time thing. I've got a full-time job and I'm a mum or I'm a dad and I've got all these other things going on and I can only give my business a small amount of time each week. So, question to you, kind of rhetorical, but are routines or rhythms still important if it's just a side hustle? Can we just sort of speak into that for a little bit and why are they so important and what can people do if they're thinking, well, you know what, it's just something on the side that I'm using to earn a little bit of extra income right now?
So I would actually say if this is a side hustle or, kind of a plan B, something you're doing after your full-time, job or gig, that it's even more important to have a routine, and it's even more important to get into a rhythm because you already have that other thing that is a big thing. And what you really need to understand is if you treat this like a hobby, it's going to pay you like a hobby.
Yeah.
If you treat it like a business, it'll pay you like a business. Well, okay, I got a full-time thing, so now I can only really approach it like a part-time business. Mm-hmm. But still, if you had a part-time business, you would, engage with that business regularly. And that comes down to, so let's say, you go to work and you can only put, an hour or 2 hours a day toward, your business that you're building on the side. You got to schedule that time. You got to block it out and you got to say, this is my time when I'm at work for that business. And then in that time, make sure you're engaged in the right activities. And you have to really focus on the most productive activities because you have less time for them than somebody who's doing it full time and has a little more time to get outside of that realm. So yes, it's important. I think it's even more important if you're doing this as a side hustle to really make sure that you are blocking it out and committing yourself to do the right work during that time every single day.
Yeah, it's really awesome that you mentioned that. And we're going to talk in a little moment about establishing good routines or rhythms in your business and what some of those activities might look like. But it's interesting because about 3 months ago, we actually established a new membership group called the Rise Up Inner Circle. And we've been working with a group of people in their businesses every week at the same time every week to do just 30 minutes of activity twice a week together as a group to establish routines. And it's really funny. We started out with everybody having what we called a big, hairy, audacious goal that they wanted to achieve by the end of the year. So we established this routine on a Monday morning and a Friday morning just for 30 minutes, where together we would be doing some really important core activities. And the fact that we all had to come together in person and do it, and everyone was sort of forced to sit down and do that activity in their business twice a week, we've had in just 3 months, we've had a really good portion of that group already achieve that big, hairy, audacious goal that they wanted to achieve by the end of the year and have to set a whole new one simply because for the first time ever, they've established some routine in their business that they're doing every single week, and they haven't had that before. So it's so powerful spending this time. But let's talk about how to establish good quality routine, because we can spend time and, I get a little bit cranky with them when I say to them, what's the activity you're going to do today? And they say, I'm going to clean my desk. And I go, stop. What's a good quality rhythm or routine? And how do we establish those? Do you have some advice for our listeners in that space?
So we like to talk about income producing activities and the things that actually help to grow your business, grow your sales volume, therefore grow your income. A lot of people will, wake up in the morning and scroll through their Facebook or their Instagram, check on what everybody else is doing in social media, maybe make their new posts, and they jump into their back office. They check their reports and how's my team doing? Look at my commission deposits for the day, and what did today's subscriptions look like? And then they lean back and say, wow, I had a really busy morning, and they've done nothing to actually grow their business. And they need to really focus on the things that are going to drive sales volume into their organization and get them paid. So we call those income producing activities. A person might only have an hour or two a day that they can devote to their business. So I like to say, spend 80% of your time in your income producing activities and spend 20 in those other administrative things, catching up on what's going on with your team, your reports, making your social posts and so forth. And then, you can chunk that out. You can create chunks of time that allow you to focus on the most important things. So if I only had 1 hour, I might spend 15 minutes on prospecting, reaching out to new people that I've wanted to share, my business opportunity with. Another 15 minutes following up with the people I was prospecting with yesterday. There's massive value in follow-up. So you have to make sure that's part of your daily routine. And then I might spend 15 minutes reaching out to members of my team. Hey, what do you need? How can I help you? Following up with customers to thank them for their business. There's a lot of things that will help you to grow a successful business. But if you're not engaged in those every single day, because you're doing administrative or clerical things, you're missing out on a massive opportunity. So, you kind of got to divide up your day and what works for you, chunk it out, and focus on specific activities for a period of time, and making sure you're constantly keeping working lists of who those people are for those periods of time as well. That's going to be the biggest thing that people can do in establishing a business routine. Build it around the activities that matter most to your business.
Awesome. And Curtis, I want to ask you a quick question about what are some of the rhythms that you have established in your own routine that have led to success in your career?
And so, I think for me personally, it's been around personal development. I spend time every single morning in personal development, whether that's reading, listening to a podcast, but something that works on my mind, something that works on, new ideas and, just generating a growth mindset for myself. I spend part of that time in, spiritual development as well. And I think that's critical. And then spending a little bit of time every day getting your body moving. There's a group of guys here at the office that we like to play pickleball. I don't know if you guys are playing pickleball in Tasmania.
I have no idea what pickleball is.
Imagine life-size ping pong where you're on a miniature tennis court. It's something like that. But we have our routine as well. Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday we play, and so that becomes a part of my routine. But I think you just have to pick the things that matter to you and then get them worked into your life. I find that morning is always easier before my day gets going, before distractions come up. As I said, I have 4 kids and we're busy, and my life can get pulled any number of directions in the evening after work. And so I like to make sure that I carve out time in my morning to work on me and the things that that I want to get accomplished from personal development and physical development, spiritual development standpoint. And if I were giving anybody advice, I'd say, if you like podcasts, pick podcasts. If you like to read. If you like to learn some other way, but establish a part of your day where that's going to happen, and it happens every single day in that part of the day. But those are some of the things that I do, and it seems to help me a lot.
Super important. I think, there's not a leader that I've spoken to or someone successful that I've spoken to that does not prioritize that time for growth. So I know that our listeners hear this again and again on this podcast. So that might be a little rhythm you're hearing here, and there's a reason for it, because that personal growth is probably one of the most powerful things that you can be doing. So the fact that you're listening to this podcast is a really good sign. But I love that. That's
Absolutely.
so good. Now, I do have 4 really fun questions for you, Curtis, before we wrap up. I know our listeners love this part of the podcast. So first question is this. What's your favorite book for our Accelerator book list?
I think I might cheat on this one, Sam. By cheat, I mean I'm going to tell you 2 books because both of these books have been, I think, really valuable for me. And because a lot of people listening are also independent distributors, business owners, solopreneurs. The first one for me is The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. This is all about how the daily activities start to add up over time, right? I don't get big muscles because I went to the gym one time. I get big muscles by going to the gym every single day, and then over time that adds up. And that's that book is all about. It's kind of what we're talking about today. And then one of my favorite business books ever is the other one I want to share, and it's called Leadership and Self-Deception. This is a terrific book and a terrific read. It's about how we get out of the box toward other people, how we see others as people, not objects, and how we can really build relationships that help move teams and organizations forward. So I love leadership and self-deception. And I think for anybody building a business, anybody trying to establish routines, the compound effect is absolutely fantastic.
I love it. Now, I do want to just come back a little step here. We've got three more fun questions to ask, but I also want to ask you something else that's been on my mind, and that is you've seen a lot of distributors out there who, have done amazing things and many that also really struggle. I'd love to know, what do you see on a regular basis being a habit for new business owners that typically leads to failure or difficulty in growing their business? I'm sure you've seen this. I'd love to know what your opinion is on, some of those habits that people form early on that perhaps they could be a bit more aware of.
I've seen it a lot, honestly. There are certainly a lot of people who jump into businesses like ours and don't see the success that they want to see. Unfortunately, they give up too early on it. And then sometimes that's simply why people don't succeed. But one of the challenges I see people having, and something that they're engaging in, but it's not really, something where they should really be spending a lot of time, is thinking they have to know it all. If you're in a company like ours where it's about weight loss products and supplements, thinking I have to know every ingredient and every combination of this, that, and the other before I can start telling someone else about the products or about, weight loss programs, that I have to become an expert first.
Yep.
Or sometimes thinking I have to know every single nuance about the compensation plan or some promotion contest that's running before I just take action. And sometimes the best learning comes from taking action and figuring out what didn't work and backing up and learning. And then you're going to learn it all along the way anyway. But if you stop yourself to think you have to learn it all first, you won't engage in the activities that create early wins for you in your business. Yeah. And if you're not getting those early wins, you're going to determine, oh, this doesn't work, or I don't work, or I'm not good at this. And you're going to give up way too early. So my advice to someone would be, don't think you have to be an expert first. Jump in, engage in the work, share, be enthusiastic and excited when you're sharing with your family and friends and whoever you're reaching out to, because people want to know the outcomes. They want to know the stories that you have to share about what this has done for you, even if you don't know all the details. So don't get wrapped up in the axle of the details too early. I love it. I shouldn't say always, but it's very often a recipe for failure.
Yeah, so powerful. And I see this with social media. So, getting it right, getting it perfect before we go. Presence over perfect. Passion sells so much more than knowledge. So love that. So good. All right. Jumping into that next question is, if you could have one superpower, what would that be and why?
Yeah, my kids ask me this question all the time. And then we have these, raucous debates around what the best superpowers are. But for me, it would be the ability to read minds. And that's because I'm in sales. I want to know what the customer's thinking. I want to know what the people around me are thinking, because in sales, it's all about help resolve a pain point, help resolve an issue. If you can make something easier or better for the customer, then, they're going to buy what you have to offer. And so I've always thought, man, if I could just read people's minds, I'd know exactly what they need. And that would make me super incredible at what I do. So mind reading would be my superpower. That would
also be a really painful superpower as well, if you are a sensitive individual. You'd have to have a thick skin for that one.
Yeah, but in my world, it's the ability to turn it on and off as I want to as well.
Right, I got it. Okay, then it's great. Okay, your favorite quote, Curtis?
My favorite quote, I'll just say this. Because of the amount of things I've read and a lot of the personal development, there are a lot of great quotes out there. But one of my favorites is from Nelson Mandela, and it's, I never lose. I either win or I learn. And I think there's some real value in that quote, and understanding that, a loss isn't just a loss. It's an opportunity for growth. It's an opportunity to learn something new, to learn why did you fail and maybe make an improvement. So that one's been really impactful for me, to look at losses and failures differently. Look at them as growth opportunities. Look at them as learning opportunities. That's one of my absolute favorites.
Awesome. I love that. And the very last question, Curtis, if you could go back in time and say one thing to your past self, what would that be?
This is a big question, because I think my past self probably needed a lot of advice along the way. And I think I just talked about the importance of personal development. I probably would have told my younger self to start that process earlier. to be willing to invest in personal growth earlier in my life, earlier in my career. I think I really became passionate about personal growth probably in my 30s, and 20-something-year-old Curtis could have really used some of that personal growth too. So that would probably be the thing I would go back and say and encourage myself to do. We always waste youth, because we don't have the wisdom of age yet. And it would be really nice to know some of those things at a much younger age. So if you're listening and you're young, invest in your personal growth now. Be willing to, and I mean, buy the books, attend the seminars, do the things, listen to the podcasts, do the things that are going to help you grow and get better and better at what you do. One of my favorite analogies is that you can't feed the hungry from an empty pantry. And so personal growth and personal development helps me fill up my pantry. It helps me have a reserve and a reservoir of things that I can then offer out to people when they're struggling or when they need advice in some way. And it's not always original Curtis Call thought. It's sometimes, hey, I was reading in this book and this is what was taught, or this is an idea I got from this source. But fill yourself up, make yourself a reservoir for the people around you. And that only comes from putting in the effort and the work of personal growth, development, and learning.
Yeah, awesome. I love that. And such a great analogy too. So look, thank you so much for joining us today, Curtis. This has been awesome. Such a great chat and so many amazing golden nuggets for our listeners. And I just want to throw it out there too. You said if you're young, start now. It's never too late to start. If you're listening to this and you're in your 80s, and I know that we've got some amazing listeners in their 70s and 80s and even 90s. It's never too late to grow and learn and gain knowledge. So don't not do it because you didn't do it when you were younger. Start that process now because you just never know where it will lead. But thank you so much, Curtis. This has been amazing to connect with you. I love.
Can I share something really quickly?
Please.
I go to church with a gentleman who's in his late 80s, and occasionally he will play the piano in church, and he's quite good at playing the piano. And I remember one day somebody asked him, hey, have you been playing the piano your whole life or whatever? And he says, no, he didn't even start playing until he was 75.
Wow.
And he just decided as a 75-year-old that he wanted to learn to play the piano. And now, 10, 12 years later, he has this talent, but it wasn't something he did forever. So anyway, you said that about, hey, whether you're 20s or when you're in your 80s, it's never too late to start.
Yeah.
Absolutely. At any age, you can do this. I was only referencing the 20s because we were talking about my younger self, but I really just wanted to reinforce that point, Sam, because that was amazing what you said. It's never too late to start investing in you and the better version of you for tomorrow and for next year and for, down the road.
One of my business coaches once said to me this quote, which has always stuck in mind, and that is that the best time to plant a tree was 10 years ago. The next best time is today. And it's just a really good reminder that it is never too late to start. It shouldn't be tomorrow. It should be today. So, thank you again, Curtis. Been so great chatting with you. And I know our audience, I'm sure they've taken a whole heap away from this episode. So really appreciate you taking your time out. You're at the opposite end of the day to me right now. So I'm going to get into my day. You're going to finish yours up. But again, thank you so much for joining us. It's been such a pleasure having you in here.
Yeah, I've loved being on here with you. A lot of fun. Thank you again for the invite and for the time. Really appreciate it.
Awesome. And thanks as well to our awesome listeners for tuning in again. Make sure that you subscribe on YouTube or on your favorite podcast channel. And we look forward to having you tune in again for our episode next week. Bye for now. Take care of yourself. God bless. And we will see you on next week's episode. Thank you for joining us in this episode of the Direct Selling Accelerator podcast. If you love listening and you found that this was helpful for your direct selling business, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also check out the recommended video that's popped up on your screen right here. I look forward to seeing you again next time. Bye for now.